Well, hello. I just finished editing this episode with Katie Rogers, and both of us are Feng Shui practitioners, and we've known each other for many years, but we only got to really know each other in this last year after a few conversations. And I am so delighted to report that she has a deep passion for nature connection, as I do. And in this conversation, I know you're going to love it. She shares an amazing story of being with a pod of dolphins in the wild and some other amazing stories. So listen in. I think you will be inspired. Welcome to the Enchanted Earth podcast, where you will hear stories of nature with the power to transform our lives. These sacred stories are begging to be shared now. So listen in as my guest today shares one of their own. So welcome, everybody. Today we have with us Katie Rogers, and let me tell you a little bit about Katie. Katie has been practicing Feng Shui for over 25 years and is certified in the Tibetan Black Hat tradition through the line of Grandmaster Lin Yun. She is the founder and lead instructor of the Wind Horse School of Feng Shui, where she offers a 9-month Feng Shui Odyssey, as well as practitioner certification. So welcome.
Yay! I'm so happy to be here, Maureen. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, so welcome. And I just so enjoy our interactions these last few months, really getting to know each other a little bit more. And yeah, I'm excited for this conversation.
Me too. You've inspired me.
Well,
I think this is wonderful timing.
yeah, there was something about, let me just see here, about your bio. 25 years. So 2000.
Well, I discovered Feng Shui in 1998. I was living in Austin right after college, didn't want to know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and was working in a publishing company where there was a lot of fluorescent lighting and cubicles. And I had been traveling. I had been seeing the most beautiful places on the planet, and I was kind of dying in that environment. And I thought, I know a good idea for a business. I'm going to go in and make it feel better and do some interior decorating. So I went and looked up interior decorating books. And this was Austin. So, their tagline is keep Austin weird. So I went to this little bookstore, and in the interior decorating aisle was a book on Feng Shui. It was Tara Catherine Collins' book. And I sat in that bookstore and I read as much as I could until I'm like, I just got to take this home. So that's how I got into it. I just wanted the space I was working in to feel better. So yeah, and then I got certified in 2003. I took the training and certified in 2004.
Wow. I also noticed in your bio, the name of your school is Wind Horse. And I'm wondering now, as many of the listeners might also be wondering, have you ever had a profound, meaningful experience with a horse?
Well, all of them. Well, I have so many stories from animals and nature.
Well, share one. Whatever one is rising.
Yeah, I will. I mean, it's almost like preparing for this talk with you today. And this is where I have to thank you so much for writing The Enchanted Earth and for doing your podcast, because I feel like the analogy has been like, oh, I've been a fish in water. I've been a fish in water and not known that that I've been in the water, because nature is so part of my world. Animals are such a part of my world since before I can remember, that I'm like, I took the stories I've experienced for granted. And you listening to people and showing the world really that these stories have value and meaning, it has kind of woken me up, Maureen. I'm like, oh, people don't experience the world like this. Oh, so I have chills talking to you about it. So thank you.
Wow. That just really warms my heart so much, because sometimes when we're off in our world doing our thing, we feel like there's value to it, but we don't really know until we get the feedback. And as any kind of creative person, an artist, a musician, a writer, a dancer, any type of creative position, expression in this world, we just never know if it's going to resonate with anybody, but we have to do it regardless.
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
so appreciate that it really touched you. And really, honestly, what you just said is we don't all experience this world in this way.
Mhm.
And that is something that I'm trying to get under a little bit. Like, why
Mhm.
don't we all experience that? And how I may be able to play a role to get people to awaken to that. So,
Well, you're playing it. You're doing it.
yeah,
We're
my
doing
little
it.
corner of the world. Yeah, that's what I have to do.
Yeah, well, I love it, and I've loved listening to the podcast and your book, just I was like, "Oh." So, I guess some of the stories I wanted to share today, because it really, really was like, how do I narrow this down? Um, I realized, I'm a middle-aged lady, but I realized as soon as I got my freedom, basically got out of school, I've been following nature. I've just been living in places that either supported my creativity because I'm a screenwriter and filmmaker too, or I just had to go to a pretty place. I just had to go to pretty places. So, I grew up in Mobile, Alabama, which is on the coast. So it's Mobile Bay, and then we had access to the Gulf of Mexico, of course. And, I just think of myself in the backyard. I mean, we were just always outside. We did have the barefoot childhood where there were tons of kids in my neighborhood and we rode the bikes around. And I mean, all we were doing was playing outside. And I remember we had a little kumquat tree in our backyard. And I remember my mom growing some watermelon back there. And I remember the roly polies. I mean, this is very little. And I loved the dogs would roam the neighborhood. They were all my buddies. I do remember a sadder story that when, I had a tree growing outside my window. I lived on this My room was on the second story, and for some reason, my parents cut it down, and I remember being devastated. It would like, I'm about to cry now a little bit. It was a Japanese magnolia, also known as a saucer magnolia or a tulip magnolia, and I mean, I felt like a friend of mine. It was grief. So, I didn't have the understanding then, but now I know I did lose a friend. It was my friend. That tree was my friend. So, I think my connection to nature, I mean, my obsession with animals, including horses, was just me. It just was me. But then as I got older, we were driving boats around when we were 12 years old.
Yes.
And like, so and growing up in Mobile, we had the hurricanes, we had weather, and we had the water. And you have to have a respect for nature
Yeah.
to be there, to be able to play there. But also, I mean, at least with hurricanes, they're coming.
Right.
I remember we had to, evacuate to my grandmother's who lives in middle Alabama. But I mean, I was climbing trees, catching frogs. I mean, I remember I would always find puppies. I don't know how the strays would always find me.
That's exactly what. They found you because they knew
Yeah.
you would help them all.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my young childhood. And then I became a rebellious teenager. I did not like that conservative Southern upbringing. I know that now. It wasn't conscious then, but I just knew I had to get the heck out of Alabama at some point. Um, and my parents sent me on Outward Bound when I was 18.
Oh,
Yeah, which was amazing. And, hearing some of the stories that you've shared and, some of the people you've interviewed shared, I'm like, "Okay, we had to do a 3-day solo in the woods." And I remember being like, "I think I'll try this meditation thing." I've heard people talk about meditation, and it was like I became one with I was always like, "Oh, there's no boundary between me and this surrounding right now." Like, it was like the surroundings and I remember watching ants, and I'm like, "Ants are amazing." So,
Yes, I mean,
I mean
can you just share a little bit more about that experience? Like, put us there.
oh god,
Um,
okay, it makes you remember because, Maureen, I haven't told these stories. So you lose them if you don't tell them.
well, yes, but, it's you don't lose them, you
Okay.
can reignite the memory by telling.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to do it because it really is like something is waking up in me and just being here with you today. I will say that I have so many journals from over the years, and I did, like, write a poem. I should have brought it to this talk, but let
Yeah,
me because these experiences are beyond words. It's an energy. Um, I just know that I got quiet in my mind. Had been in the woods for a day or 2 or however long by myself, so you don't have electronics, you have, like, a journal and a little bit of food and water and your tent. We were in North Carolina in the woods, like, kinda on the Georgia and North Carolina line, a lot of rhododendron, just trees, it was mostly just trees. We weren't really supposed to leave our little spot so we don't get lost. Um, so and I just remember closing my eyes, going within, breathing, kind of have the intention of letting go of my thoughts and just seeing what that felt like just to breathe. And I just connected with that breath. And I do remember opening my eyes, and it was like the trees, and it was an opening of sorts. Like it just was like, oh, we're all here together. We're all in this together. But even those words fall short, Maureen. It just was a sense of like, "Ah, okay, here we all are. And it's all us, it's all connected." But I can find that poem. I'll put that poem up somewhere. Maybe I'll put it on my blog or somewhere so we can revisit my 18-year-old self when I had those moments. But I mean, I already had an appreciation for nature. It just to take it to that level was new for me.
yeah, so it's it sounds like you're describing a transcendent experience, kind of like above the fray of our physical reality, able to
Mhm.
kind of see the bigger, quantum picture of reality where there's no separation, we're all in consciousness. Yes, any words we use to describe these experiences fall completely short.
Yeah,
They are so it makes it sound trivial almost, but
yeah,
finding any words at all to describe it really does help us all.
I appreciate that, and yes, an attempt to express can ignite it in another person. For sure. Yes. Thank you.
After that experience, right then, like, did you have any shift in your perception of your life? And any messages that came to you after that? I'm just curious.
Well, we were all it was a group of, like, 10, 18-year-olds. We were back in the woods for a month learning to survive in the woods, right? And so, it was also the fun of connecting with people in that way where we didn't, and, so I was a teenager. So, sure enough, I went we all met up. We're like, "Yay, we did the 3-day." But I do know when I came home, and it was summer, and I just remember the TV was on like it is in the summertime, and some daytime show was on, and they were talking about prom, and I remember thinking, "This has nothing to do with anything." I just remember thinking, "This is not even doesn't even touch what life is about at 18." And so, I know that experience in the woods absolutely shaped me. Um,
Wow.
so looking back at my life, I'm like, okay, yeah, we experience these things, but sometimes it's not a certain level of awareness, especially when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
Our
It was an opening. It was an
Mhm.
initiation of which we go through many in our lives. That information learned, it's like the hero's journey, that Joseph
Mhm.
Campbell talks about, and it's like bringing these learnings and integrating them into our lives, even in a subconscious way. So it sounds like that was like a real base for you going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help to see the world differently after living in nature for 28 days, because then you come out and you're like, "Oh, everything's man-made." Like, it's like your vision does shift, but it's just kind of funny to think about, like, why are they talking about prom on the TV? There's so many other things to talk about. Um, but, so yeah, so I guess a few stories I wanted to also talk about, 'cause I was like, "Well, which ones do I wanna talk about?" I did end up after college moving to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I told my friends, I'm like, "I just wanna be in nature and write." Yeah, and it's so beautiful there, but I will say I was still in party mode from college. I mean, I just I just like to party. I mean, I and have fun with people my age, and I was experiencing a different kind of freedom, but, I mean, we were outside. Our social life, a lot of it was hiking. And, we would see bears and moose. I mean, it was just the life there. So that was good. I did tone down the partying after that because I realized, well, shoot, I'm not really writing very much. I'm just in nature. Um, but I did end up, staying I left, but then went back for the winter and then ended up breaking my wrist. And I had some family friends in Mobile. They were taking their boat, a 42-foot Bertram, which is a fishing vessel, to the Bahamas, and they asked any of the Rogers girls. I have 2 sisters, and this is a close family friend of mine. He's my age, he's like a brother. He and his dad were taking this boat. They were like, "We're taking the boat to the Bahamas. We're gonna go through the Intercoastal Waterway in Florida." And I'm like, "I'll go. I wanna go." So I was just at an age where I would work, save up money, not didn't have many expenses. I lived with a bunch of roommates, and then go do experiences and adventures.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun, but it was also confusing because my friends were all they were doing their career path. I'm like, I don't know what I'm some days I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I knew I had to experience life at that level. Well, we had been on the boat, we got down the Bahamas, and, Bill and John were scuba divers. I was not certified at the time, but I love snorkeling, and they knew where to go anchor outside of Walker's Key, for this beautiful reef, and, and I was up on the top. I think I was helping drive, and, John was putting the anchor in, and John was very into sharks, loved sharks, and I am up there, and I see this dark black shadow go underneath the boat, and I'm like, "Ah, there's a shark." And he's like, Where?" And he's so excited, and he goes over one end of the mountain and goes and then we realize it's a dolphin. And Maureen, 50 dolphins came up, wild. Nobody else, we were the only boat. This was not some place that people knew about. We had to use a GPS and find it and get some and those dolphins swam with us for an hour. John and I ran, I'm like, "Oh my god." He put that anchor in, I'm like, "Okay." I jumped in with them, and they were playing with us. They played with us, and when I tell you they played with us, I mean, they would get this close. And they were huge, like, you're a little nervous when they're huge, you know? And I'd always loved dolphins, always. And, we're just getting in the water, and this I was about 22 at this point. And, I would put my hand out just to after they got used to us and I got used to them, really, it was me getting used to them, and it would just barely move to avoid my touch. Well, towards the end, one of the mamas, because she had a baby with her, they would swim, like, in threes. or 4, they just were all around. Let me touch her for the most second. And I think that you're probably not supposed to do that. I did not have that awareness. I did not know wild dolphins would come swim with people. I didn't know this was beyond my imagination. I knew I loved dolphins and would want to swim with them at some point, but having a whole pod come swim with us for an hour. So that experience was dramatic in that, and it was on a Friday the 13th, I remember. And I'm like, well, that's my lucky day. And I dreamt of fairies that night. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I want to hear about the dream.
Well, and again, I actually did go look through some of my old journals before this call. I'm like, surely I wrote this down. It's so funny when I write down. I'm like, okay, this one is about the guys I'm dating. This is about whatever. I'm like, where is the fairy dream? Even though I was in a habit of writing my dreams down, I was really into dream study at that point too. It was just an encounter with a fairy. I don't remember much more, but I remember it was really vivid, and it was definitely a fairy. And I know I woke up, I'm like, okay, this is we live in magic. Like, I swam with dolphins, and here's a fairy in my dream. Life can be magical,
Absolutely.
right?
Wow.
Yeah. So I was lucky because I was young, but I was real open. I wanted adventure. I was getting it.
Like, I'm curious. At the time that this happened, you were open, you were seeking, you were going on adventure, curious, playful. And those dolphins seem to just be that energy
Yeah.
you were exhibiting.
Yeah, my friend John is like that too. I mean, we're just going to these little islands, and he had a video camera before people carried cameras around, and we do have a video of the dolphins swimming with us. And I text, I'm like, John, send me that. He goes, Katie, it's still on DVD. I haven't put it on digital yet. I'm like, okay, well, he'll do it one day. But we were very in play mode. So that's really insightful, Maureen. I didn't think of it being a reflection of what we were living.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. It's like, we attract to us the energy that we're emitting.
That makes complete sense.
We're co-creating our lives, and on a negative sense, we can attract negative experiences, right?
Yep.
And on the positive side, we can attract playfulness if we're in that energy of playfulness. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
it was so fun. It was so fun. And then I did end up swimming with dolphins in Hawaii again later too. I've had a couple of other, not a whole pod like that, but I do love dolphins. Yeah, so that's one major story. But I mean, I've got so many. It's hilarious how many I have. But I mean, do you want to hear another one, or is the question coming to you?
I'm wondering, just this story, is there anything more you can tell us about this experience of swimming with dolphins? I've experienced it actually down in the Keys. I went to the Dolphin Research Center, and it was magical. But to have this, like you said, in the wild, and a whole pod of them, I mean, this is an incredibly beautiful experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, is there anything more you can share about it for those who've never experienced that?
Well, let me see if I can, because of course, one of my gateways into Feng Shui was I was into Native American medicine as far as animals shown, because I love animals. I keep saying it, but I'm like obsessed with them. I think they're so cute. And of course, I did go kind of research, what an encounter with a dolphin, and it has to do with breath. and joy. You know what? I'm also getting telepathic communication right now as far as their symbolism, which I don't know if you've listened to the telepathy tapes or you're
Yeah.
listening. Okay, it's amazing. It's so good. And they are reminding us of the joy. I mean, it felt like puppies of the sea. Like that's how I'm like, they're like dogs. They play. They're just playful. I think that if I was to kind of translate it a little bit more, I had a newsletter coming out tomorrow, and it's about, how scientists think that animals have to act in a certain way for some function. Like if you see a whale breach, the scientists are like, why are they breaching? And I'm like, if you see it, they're just having fun. They're just having fun. It feels good. It's fun. And so I think in our culture, we forget that fun and joy can be reasons for doing anything. So I'm hopeful that, the dolphins are reminding us that just have fun, and there's just there's a magic to life if you are open to it. You can close it off really easily. And it's not hard to close it off either, because our culture does not support this. Our culture is sit down in the chair, listen to the lecture, and do your homework. That's what we're not. I always say, I'm like, what if you went into the classroom and they said, what's going to bring you joy today? Right?
Yeah.
What? Why don't we do that?
Oh, that's so true.
Right? It's the opposite.
And yeah, I mean, this discussion about joy is, I feel like, the meaning of life. Because when we're in our joyful place, we're doing what we're supposed to do. And when we're doing what we're supposed to do, we feel good. We feel we belong. We feel that we're necessary. Like we're contributing to humanity and to this planet. And if we were all in that place of joy, there would be no war. There would be no violence. It's impossible.
That's right. Right? So somebody got in their head that they need to control others. And I love the people talking today about how, like, joy is a form of resistance. I think that's hilarious. It's kind of true.
It's absolutely true. I love that idea. I love that idea. Yes, there are some people that their kind of mission is to actually, fight back, but in a way, energetically, fighting back is just adding more of that darker energy. There's a weird, right? Being a person who's aware of energy, don't you feel that it's a little ironic? And maybe I am being naive. Maybe there needs to be that out on the streets fighting resistance. But maybe there could be an out on the streets peaceful resistance.
Well, yeah, I've thought about this a lot because I kind of do have that fiery fighter spirit. I'm kind of too, which is not easy to live with all the time. I admit. So,
that's why you went to the Outward Bound.
right, 100,000%, Maureen, definitely.
But
I know, and I should thank my parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Need to write him a letter. Thank them right here. But yeah, well, you and I know that what you resist persists, and it's about redirecting energy. Actually, working with horses, okay, I remember, I know my horse story now. So I did take animal communication that same year I discovered Feng Shui. Like it was just a flyer on like a crystal store. I'm like, and it had dolphins on it, actually. And I just had the dolphin experience a year before. And I'm like, animal communication, somebody's teaching this? And I named Lita Worthington, and she's Penelope Smith's student, and she lived outside of Austin and had just a group of 15 to 20 of us at her farm. And we were learning basically how to receive and send messages telepathically. And we worked with color first. We'd have a partner, a human partner, to practice. And she did tell me she had a few horses, and she goes, "You have a deep connection with horses." And I'm like, "Well, I know." But you know what? Now that I'm this age, I'm like, you don't just get told that by a teacher. It's you got to pay attention when people tell you this. I'm like, "Oh, cool." Okay. Right? So I'm still discovering, what that means. And I'm actually going down to Costa Rica next week to do some work with some horses. So, yeah. So this is amazing timing that we're talking. So, yeah. Okay, wait. Oh, we're talking about the resistance. Oh, yeah, with horses, if you try to pull them, they're gonna go that way. You have to coax their energy, right? You can't force things. You can't push the river. So I guess with this fight back kind of mentality, yeah, these protests and things, it's like they sometimes have a nice energy. I've been to a couple. I'm like, okay, these are just people speaking and getting their messages out, and that's great. But when it feels like we have to be careful about our language, and it's like we're bringing energy to the problem a lot of times, and if you say no to it, you're saying yes.
Yeah, we're adding fuel to it, and it is
Yes.
such a, it's like one of those things that, I think Buddhism does teach us, and I don't know the right terminology, but the idea is that, is to just find your center and be in peace.
Yeah.
And as we were just saying, be in joy, regardless of the
Yeah.
situation around
Yeah.
us, because that is what will shift everything.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Abraham Hicks' work, and they just talk about being in alignment, and that frequency of joy is appreciation, it's love, it's knowledge, and it's empowerment. Like when you're really connected, they say that one can have the influence of millions if you stay in alignment, if you keep your vibration on a certain wavelength. That's where you get true inspiration, and where you can stand up at the podium and actually it makes a difference, right?
It does. And
Yeah.
and that is also, and I know Abraham Hicks is a channeled group of beings, for anyone who doesn't know. And this has been, this channeling's been going on for several decades.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Since the 80s.
I think a lot of wisdom has come through those beings, Abraham, right? And Dr. David Hawkins also talked about, this idea that one person at a higher level of consciousness has this ripple effect that is really larger. The more you go up this ladder of consciousness, the impact is exponentially higher. Very, very lucky to experience going to workshop one weekend in New York City with the Dalai Lama. And sitting in that theater, and when he entered, wow, talking about feel the energy and this love and compassion. He is probably the most elevated, conscious person I've ever been in proximity, and it was just magical.
I've gotten to hear him speak twice, and I had a similar experience. I'm like, he's so sweet. He's funny.
Yes.
But wise. It doesn't have to be separate, Yeah.
Right.
He's like a child.
He's childlike, he's joyful.
Yeah.
And that, that just, it just changes the whole energy of a room. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that he came up. So another person I would love to bring up is Julia Butterfly Hill, because she's been a big influence on me. So when I was kind of doing my early 20s thing, I did go on a bunch of road trips, lots of road trips. And I went from Jackson Hole to the Northern California redwoods. And oh my God, those trees. Maureen, those trees, I felt like I was home. And if I could put the feeling of the trees in words, just hiking around, with a friend, I'm like, berries are real. They live. It feels like berries. If berries are real, here they are. It feels like a fairyland. It wasn't some mental picture that I'd seen a picture of. It was a feeling. I think you said somewhere that you're clairsentient. You have that the feeling of knowing. That's my main way of reading things too, through my feelings. So, oh my gosh, I just loved those trees. And then I found out that they were still being kept down. I was, what? So, I discovered Julia Butterfly Hill when she was sitting in the trees, and she's my exact age. And I'm like thinking, this woman went up in a tree and didn't come down for 2 years. And I'm like, whoa, that level of dedication. I could not fathom it in my age. I was still very emotionally immature. I mean, like I told you, we were still partying. I was so really enamored with her. I did end up meeting her a couple of years. Like, I've run into her and met her like 2 or 3 times. It's just I just manifested it. When I lived in Los Angeles, she would come down there and give some talks. And I mean, I'm like, I got to meet her. And I went to dinner after her talk at a vegan restaurant. She walks in and I'm like sitting right there. I go, I just was at your talk. And she was lovely. But I did end up writing a screenplay based on her story. It has not gotten made, but I've got to get some of your persistence getting your book out. I'm serious. I got to. That incident led me to years later. I did work in animation for a little while, kind of thinking, okay, let me learn a little bit about animation, because I wanted this script to be animated. Now I think it could be live action, but it's about the perspective of the fairies in the redwood forest and basically what they think of humans.
Oh, wow.
Including a tree-sitting human, but also the loggers. So,
Oh, wow. I love that.
I had so much fun writing it. It wrote itself.
Of course, because you were channeling.
Yeah. I would just sit there and be like, tell me what's next.
Oh my gosh, Katie. You
Yeah.
have to get this funded and you have to get this out there.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There you go.
It's done.
This is your mission right now.
I'll give it a name. The title is Mirabelle in the Ancient Forest.
Oh.
Is the current title. The main fairy's name is Mirabelle. So, which means to see beauty, which we all need to do right outside our windows. So I was working in this animation house, and it was a very boring job. I was really low on the totem pole, and I was inside all day. And I would go walk at lunch because it was in a pretty neighborhood in LA. But finally, I could not be inside anymore, and I just quit. And I was like, what am I going to do next? I got to have some money. And I was reading Sonia Choquette at the time and was really into wanting to hear my guides, my spirit guide. And so I had some practice with that, a lot of practice actually. But, sometimes you just do other things instead of listening. And I just said, okay. And I sat down. I'm like, I am meditating until I get a clear answer on my next move. Like, the animation thing didn't work out. And and this was a clear audience moment. I got clear as all get out. I don't know how long I was sitting there. It wasn't too long. Be a voice for the trees. And I'm like, well, that was clear. I'm like, what the heck does that mean, though? Like, I knew how much I love trees. So, but I knew something was walking in my kind of psyche. And I'm like, I had heard of this place called Tree People in Los Angeles. And I just went straight to my computer. This was like in 2005, I think now. And I just typed in Tree People, and they were looking for an elementary educator. Well, I had been supporting myself by working with children a lot. Like I babysat, I nannied, I actually taught at a botanical garden, so it was just something that was easy for me. I loved kids. I was good at it. People trusted me. And like be a voice for the trees. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm applying for this elementary educator job at this Tree People. And I go up there because it's in the middle of LA, but you wouldn't know it. It's a hike, and the offices are yurts. So great. So it's literally above Beverly Hills in the off Mulholland Drive. I'm like, all right, I'm in the woods in the middle of the city. This helps me. Because it was not easy to live in a big city. I would have to go to the beach or the woods often to kind of make sure my energy was not getting fried. And they hired me, but I was freaking out, Maureen, because it was like part-time, like $12 an hour. I'm like, I can't live on this. And like, universe, really? This is what you want me to do? But Maureen, so they told me, you got the job like on a Thursday or Friday. And I'm like, I need to think about it over the weekend. They're like, cool, take the weekend. I got invited to a potluck on a Sunday night by a friend. I didn't know anybody else there except for this friend. But LA was so good. You just go, people just like to meet each other. And I just sat, there were a bunch of us, so there were a bunch of different tables. And I sat down at this one table, and the man across from me, Richard Wegman is his name, he's like, well, what is your story? What do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to decide right now. And I go, a place called Tree People has offered me a job. He goes, I used to be the director. And I'm like, what? I was like, what? He's like, it's an amazing place. And I go, but, and I told him my little thing, like, but it's part-time. And he's like, look, there are kids in this city who have never seen a tree within 10 feet of another tree. And Maureen, I just started crying. I'm like, what? I'm like, because I love children so much and I love nature so much. I'm like, what? He goes, if you can do this, if you can make it work, do it. And so I did it. And sure enough, the buses would come up every day, and we would lead them on a hike and teach them about the environment and trees and soil and seeds and the watershed. I mean, it was a wonderful program. Wonderful. And, but some of the children would get off the bus and they didn't know me, but they would hold my hand because they were scared to walk on a trail. They were scared they had never seen the woods, even though it was in the middle of the city. Yeah. So that was amazing. And I eventually got promoted to campus forestry manager, which was working with schools to get asphalt out of the playgrounds because they paved over the playgrounds in the 70s so they didn't have to maintain them. So children are playing in parking lots. So my fun job was to go to LAUSD and convince them to remove asphalt so we could plant trees with the kids. So we worked with volunteers from parents and teachers from the schools, and I got to run volunteer tree plantings in the middle of Los Angeles. So that was awesome. And then I became an arborist. So I guess I'm doing pretty good with being a voice for the trees, but I want to do more.
Well, yeah. You've got your next steps here.
Mirabelle?
This book, this film.
It's a lot, isn't it, Maureen?
Wow. Well, like I said, like I started out, you and I have known each other for many years, but we've never really, connected one-on-one very deeply. And I am just so grateful to have this connection with you, because I do see that we're going to have you on again, because I want to hear about Costa Rica and what comes up there.
Yeah.
Definitely want to continue this.
Okay.
I feel like we could talk another hour or two, but
I do too. And I knew that was going to happen.
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, as I always use as a wrap up, are there any last words you would like to share with our listeners about exploring these experiences of nature or sharing these experiences of nature that they've had?
Well, Maureen, I went to the woods this morning and I asked for a message for your listeners. Can I read it?
Absolutely.
Okay. So my intention was to get a message from the earth, whatever that meant. I didn't really know, but I got a little more clarity as it came through. And I just did it in my phone. So we'll see if it resonates with you and whoever might be listening. But here we go. Earthlings! Exclamation point. And I got we. We love calling you that because that's what you are, part of this glorious ecosystem, your term, that keeps you alive and well, healthy and happy. There are cultures who have recognized this and continue to do so, but those people are slowly dying out with the birth and worship of technology, transportation, and false mindsets. Reclaim your parallel divinity and humanity through the gifts of the earth. These are truly gifts: food and air and water. Where do you think they come from? It's as though you've been given the most precious thing. Imagine a gift you've always wanted, but discarded it because you've seen it before and it's all around you. The earth will thrive with or without you, it's true, but we happen to love you and love hosting you. You are our treasured guest, and we give freely to you because of this. But your ignorance and, yes, brainwashing into thinking that you can control or own us is causing you much, much more damage than it causes us. Sure, we feel the pain of your abuse, but the abuse you suffer at your own hands is much, much worse. When people get back to taking care of and enjoying and listening to nature, true collective healing will occur, and it will happen beautifully and efficiently. We can't do it without you. We need your human voices, your creativity, and your innovation. Don't think about saving the planet. That's not your job. What we ask of you is simple respect. Just treat us as if you treat a beloved pet or a friend. We can then begin to show you our magic again. We're tired of hiding and having to leave entire ecosystems because they've been damaged. Soon there will be nowhere else to go. We work behind the scenes to make sure our way of life stays intact, but wow, you all create a doozy. We can work together, the wind and fire and earth and water, trees and vegetation. You've touted our gift of metal too long, creating weapons and treasures that you've given too much credence to. Let that go now. See the gifts of all of it. We don't need your protection. We want your respect. That'll go so much further than the concept of protection, and it will last through the generations, starting a renewed relationship with us. And then I asked, wait, how do we respect you? And I got, by slowing down, by listening, by thinking before you act, by understanding that every tree and every rock and every weed counts for something, and that we are literally providing sacred medicine for all. Start with yourself. You'll be guided from there.
All right.
Right.
On that note, yes,
Mhm.
respect, acknowledgement of the sentience of all.
Well, and I thought about this message before we got on. I'm like, okay, it's a relationship with the earth. You can protect somebody. That doesn't mean you have a relationship with them. I think that's the difference.
Yeah. Well, I am so grateful to have had this conversation with you today, Katie, and thank you so much for being on here.
Maureen, thank you so much for your work. I didn't know. You helped me. You really did. So I appreciate you listening and wanting to get stories out there. It is profound to me. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Katie. And I want to ask any listeners, please like, comment, and share. And yes, comment, ask any questions, or please share any thoughts you had while listening. We will reply to those comments. And please subscribe. All right, everybody, have a beautiful, magical day.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you for being a part of the Enchanted Earth podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so that you'll know when we publish another inspiring episode. Check out my book, The Enchanted Earth, available wherever online books are sold. Thank you and have a magical day.